You may have heard about being a night owl or an early bird, but did you know that you could also be a dolphin, a lion, or a bear? On today's episode, we'll talk about our sleep chronotypes and get some insight into why we sleep the way we do. I'm Jay, and this is Somnilopod. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. I hope you're having a great day. I wanted to talk today about some information that I came across recently and some research that's being done to sort of expand our idea of our chronotype. We've talked in the past about being either a night owl or an early bird, those people that do well in the morning and others that just do well at night. Recent research is looking more in depth at this, and they're discovering that there is more to it than just being up early or staying up late. And I wanted to talk a little bit about that. Now, our circadian rhythm is a little bit different from our chronotype. Circadian rhythm is that process within our bodies that lets us know when it's time to be awake and when it's time to be asleep. And in some cases, our circadian rhythm can be trained to adjust to a schedule that's different than what it would normally accommodate. So, for example, a night shift worker can, over time, help to train their circadian rhythm to accommodate to some things like that. However, your sleep chronotype is a little more ingrained. There's been a lot of research as far as genetics that can indicate whether or not you're more likely to be alert and active during a certain part of the day. So your chronotype is actually going to be a little bit harder, almost impossible, to adjust over time. Now, or to adjust to a certain circumstance. Now, over time, scientists have found that our chronotype may shift. So as we get older, it may shift to an earlier type and allow us to be alert and awake earlier in the day. Now, as I mentioned, it's very difficult to adjust your chronotype as opposed to your circadian rhythm. And when people have a natural chronotype that would come into conflict with the way they live their lives. So, for example, you've got kids, you have to get them up early, you have to get to work at a certain time, etc. If your chronotype doesn't necessarily coincide with that, that's actually termed social jet lag. And people can develop this over time. And it is people who are predominantly tired because they have to be awake and alert at a time when it's not easy for them, but it is socially acceptable to be. There are cultural activities that are just a little bit later in the day or earlier in the day than what they are used to or what their body wants to accommodate. Now, the chronotype can vary from person to person. And as I mentioned, it depends on genetics and age. And there are some other factors that could go into that as well. Some scientists believe that your chronotype may actually be affected by where you live. So if you're in an area that has a lot of daylight hours, more so than others, during a certain part of the year, that may affect your actual chronotype. As I mentioned, they do shift to an earlier chronotype as we get older, but there is a strong genetic component, and scientists are finding that there is a strong genetic component for people who have morningness or who are awake and alert early in the day. Morning people tend to do a little bit better in school than evening people. However, evening people tend to be a little more, have a little more aptitude for creative thinking. Now, it's hard to say whether or not that is a result of the fact that people who are up and awake early, school starts early, so they are just inclined to be able to do better and function better in that circumstance. So there is still some research that's going on into that area. And a lot of the creative professions will require that you stay up late and work as needed to get the creative process taken care of. Now, sometimes what we find is that evening people have a little more flexibility in their sleep schedules as opposed to morning people. However, They may also have some unhealthy habits. They have an increased stress response. They may have higher cortisol levels, and cortisol is the hormone in our blood that is the stress hormone. So they may have higher resting heart rates, and they have other risk factors for other types of diseases, like sleep apnea, obesity, and type 2 diabetes. So research continues in those areas. Now, one of the things that prompted me to want to talk about this is that I came across a questionnaire, and there are a couple of questionnaires available that can help you sort of fine tune or mine down into the information about your sleep chronotype. But there's one from a Dr. Michael Brewis that defines the sleep chronotypes as 4 different areas, and he likens them to animals. So, for example, the lion is the chronotype that is most closely associated with the early bird individuals, and these people, they're the ones that are most productive in the early morning, and then they may have more trouble in the evening, sort of accommodating a social schedule like that. I'll be honest with you, I'm a total lion. If you ask me out to dinner and it is going to be after 7 o'clock, you are going to be disappointed because I'm going to be yawning the entire time. So yeah, I'm a big old lion. The next category is the bear. And according to Dr. Brewis, the bear is the chronotype that makes up about 55% of the population. So these are people who have sort of like an indeterminate chronotype. They tend to follow the sun. So, for example, they have no problem with traditional office hours, and they don't have any difficulty maintaining their social lives in the evenings as well. And then we come to the wolf. The wolf chronotype is more associated with the night owl, and they believe that it makes up about 15% of the population. The night owl being those individuals who are just more awake and alert into the later evening hours and have more difficulty early in the day. And finally, we have the dolphin. Now, this is interesting for a couple of reasons. The dolphin chronotype, he likens to people with insomnia. And that's because dolphins, as an aquatic mammal, and other aquatic mammals and even some birds, have the ability to sleep with only a part of their brain. So they can be alert most of the time. And if you consider it, if you're a dolphin, you're swimming around, you got to breathe. You can't really sleep the whole time. So they sleep with part of their brain so that they can still function and breathe normally. The dolphins tend to be the insomniacs of the natural world. So whether you're a lion, a bear, a wolf, or a dolphin, check out some information on the different types of chronotype that you may be. And hopefully that will give you some insight into how you're living your life and why you're sleeping the way you do. I hope this has been fun for you. It has for me. If you have questions, send me a message. You can contact me at j@somnilopod.com. Please check out the YouTube content as well, and let your friends know that we are going to change the world one night at a time by getting everybody sleeping the way they're supposed to sleep. So until we talk next time, please remember to keep sleep a priority. Thanks.